Hi. Greetings from Wisdom Lord Raphael. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification icon and don't miss any contents. This is the light novel of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. If you haven't watched previous video, I will leave the link on the description box, or you can click here. Let's start. This is Tensura Light Novel Volume 16. Tensura Light Novel. Volume 16. The End of the Game. Chapter 3. Toward Rebuilding. Future Plans. After asking for no interruptions, I left it to Tensura, who took over. She said this would help the conversation to proceed smoothly. King Gazel, who is my equal, Emperor Masayuki, and Velgrand, the plenipotentiary agent, were also allowed to speak. Anyone else, however, would be punished for insulting the king's words. I felt a little indifferent about this, but if it would make things easier, I had no complaints. Tensura began the explanation. With a few falsehoods mixed in, she described the battle on the airship that Gazel and the others may not have known about. Then I tried to tell them that Emperor Rudra had actually been taken over by the conscious will of a skill. And before that, just as I had won the battle with Velgrand. Wait. Gazel objected first. Huh. If you want to speak, please do so afterwards. That's not the point. Did I do something strange? King Gazel, is there something wrong? I couldn't help but become meek and ask. Gazel stared at me while holding his head. Without saying a word, he then turned his gaze to Velgrand and opened his mouth solemnly. I know it's rude. But will Velgrand-sama tolerate what King Rimuru has just said? Quite unusually, Gazel was speaking with honorifics. And he was even calling Velgrand with Sama. This seemed to be an attitude unbecoming of a king of a great nation. As I watched the situation unfold, Velgrand flashed a smile without getting angry. No problem, King of the Dwarves. You are very shrewd and thoughtful, a much better king than Rimuru over there. Rudra thinks very highly of you and had been talking about taking you under his wing ever since you became a sword saint. So I am also well aware of you and do not dislike you. No need to be so formal, just take it easy. Yes. But no, you who are the guardian deity of the empire and one of the most powerful true dragons in public. You don't need to worry about it. I won't do anything about it. You're Rimuru's friend, aren't you? In that case, I won't fight. After all, what Rimuru said earlier was true. I was defeated by him. Well, that was surprising. I was expecting Velgrand to be like Veldora and claim that she hadn't lost to save face. But instead, she gracefully and easily admitted her defeat. I was surprised by this, but the others seemed more than just surprised. Ga. Wow. Velgrand-sama was defeated. I can't believe it. The myth of the unbeatable. The imperial congregation, who had been cultivated under Velgrand's domination, had abandoned their previous silence and were now in turmoil. What? Hey, are you serious? You defeated that godlike existence who was undefeatable no matter the circumstance. I can't believe it, but if she admits it, then I guess it means you're not lying. Dole-san was in a daze, and Vaughn-san couldn't seem to accept the reality. Henrietta-san was smiling at them and King Gazel for some reason. Phew, I feel so refreshed because I don't have to report this time. If I had reported this story, people would have suspected that I was mentally ill. Isn't that disrespectful? Well, I wasn't going to stop her because it was a story from another country and it felt like now was not the time to get into it. As I was observing from a distance, Jane-san called out to Gazel, who was contemplating with his head in his hands. Gazel boy, and you guys too, all of you need to calm down. I'm not even surprised anymore. I already got tired and surprised by the primordials, and by the time I saw the evolution festival, I understood that it was foolish to keep being shocked. It seemed Grandma Jane had been enlightened. That's why she alone was able to get through this time calmly. The people on Dworgan's side came to their senses with those words. They were embarrassed and straightened their posture one by one. By the way, the reaction from our side was, what? So Rimuru-sama has triumphed in the face of Velgrand-sama. Are we having a feast tonight? Rigurd really did find every opportunity to party. You didn't doubt my victory from the start, did you? Well, I thought that was the case. Or rather, I was watching it. This guy, Benimaru, actually said he was spying on me. Although it seems that someone overheard you. Benimaru, what do you mean? No way you didn't watch Rimuru-sama fight with such majesty all by yourself, did you? No, it's not like that. It was my duty to confirm the status of the battle, so, just a little. He seemed to be desperately trying to think of an excuse, but that was one of Benimaru's weaknesses. Diablo, on the other hand. Kufufufu. Oh, Xian, did you not see it? I'm sorry to hear that. It's quite a shame that you were unable to witness such a magnificent battle. Do not agitate her. Was nobody better than this guy at harassing people? Tensura was sighing in amazement, estimating that nobody could be as troublesome than Diablo. Everyone, please remain calm. Tensura was dumbfounded, but she had not forgotten her role. She saw the time for everyone to gradually quiet down and raised her voice to calm the situation. If she had been one step behind, Xian and Diablo might have started a fight. Good job, I silently praised her. Now that everyone had regained their composure, the meeting continued. Tensura, the moderator, signaled me to continue, so I did. Well, as mentioned previously, I defeated Velgrin-san and then questioned her about the situation in detail, at which point I discovered discrepancies in the story. It seemed to me that Emperor Rudra was not entirely himself, so I observed Velgrin-san until I learned the terrible truth. I won't go into too many details, but it turns out that her thoughts were being dominated. And the culprit was indeed Michael, the conscious will of Emperor Rudra's skill. I put on a smug look with all my might. Now came the good part. I grinned and was about to continue. Wait. Oh no, someone was talking again. Moreover, it was still Gazel this time. Well, I'll deal with your questions later, so. As if to interrupt my words, or perhaps to calm himself down, Gazel let out a big sigh. Then, with his eyes fixed on me, he opened his mouth gravely. Listen, Rimuru. It's true that this attitude of mine is inappropriate, but, well, this is really not the time to worry about that. What do you mean? How can you leave out so many details? A vicious skill that can dominate even Velgrind-sama. How can that even exist? And what was it you just said? The will of a skill? I've never heard of such a thing. Jane, do you know anything about this? No. I've never heard of it either. Gazel was desperately trying to keep his composure, but he still couldn't hide his exuberance. When asked by Gazel, Jane-san's response was sluggish, as if she was thinking too much about something. That said, it was strange that no one was complaining about Gazel's attitude. Velgrin herself was smiling and seemed to be enjoying the situation. It seemed that as long as Masayuki was around, nothing else was needed or interested her. As for Masayuki, he seemed to have already given up on understanding the situation. He was sitting in his chair in a very dignified manner, as if it was none of his business. By doing so, he seems to have been misunderstood by Calgurio and the rest of the empire, and in doing so had further increased his own reputation. But I guess he himself did not realize it. About that, let's just tell Say don't mind. Benimaru and the others were also very interested. If I didn't want to say it, they wouldn't have pursued it, but in their hearts, they most likely still wanted to hear about it from me anyway. That was probably why Tensura did not stop Gazel either. However, she seemed to have sensed her lapse in judgment and was trying to manage the situation as if nothing had happened. Everyone, please remain calm. Regarding King Gazel's questions. Although I was impressed at how quickly she recovered, trying to remedy this situation was going to be difficult. I mean, I could just let it go, but I decided that it wouldn't hurt to explain. Okay. I'll explain. Rimuru-sama, is that alright with you? Yes. There are only a few important people from each country here anyway. I don't think they'll reveal the secret lightly, and even if they did, it wouldn't be a big deal. That's right. There was no particular problem about revealing the existence of the manas. The only secret that I had to strictly keep was the existence of Seal. I'm sorry, Rimuru. I appreciate you for doing this. Gazel bowed to me, expressing his gratitude. His tone had returned to that of a senior brother, as if he had given up trying to fix things. I felt much better and went straight into my explanation. Then I explained that as a result of Emperor Rudra's exhaustion, the ultimate skill Justice King Michael, that he had once possessed, had developed an ego and had become the Manas Michael. I disclosed its heinous powers to the best of my knowledge. Ultimate skill. So you're saying that powers of the unique level will not work on someone who possesses it? Strictly speaking, no. Skills vary in strength depending on the strength of one's will, so even at the unique level, there are skills that reach the ultimate level, though those are usually few and far between. In addition, special techniques, arts, which reflect the strength of will, may result in attacks that can reach the ultimate level. In my opinion, I think Gazel King could do it. Is that so? Also, magic is the same. Magic is both a skill and an art, so depending on the strength of the user's will, they may be able to defeat even the ultimate skill holders. Jiwoo and Bernie should understand what I'm saying, right? Those two had been defeated by Diablo, so they should be able to understand what I was talking about. When I asked them, they both nodded emphatically. As for Diablo, he had a sickeningly intoxicated expression on his face, so I didn't know what he was thinking. He definitely wasn't thinking anything good, and though I was tempted to say something to him, he was standing quietly for now, so I decided to just ignore it. Xian then muttered. Then I guess I should acquire an ultimate skill as well. You know, it's because it's not so easy to get that it's called the ultimate, right? but for some reason, I had the feeling that Xian could do it. That seemed a little scary, so I stopped thinking about it. Well, that's pretty much how it is. Michael has special powers that allow him to have absolute control over the angelic system of skills. That is why Velgrin-san couldn't resist and was at his mercy without even realizing it. It seems that Lieutenant Kondu was also under the control of his skill, though in the end, he broke free from the spell and entrusted his will to our Carrera. What, even that information-feeding monster was? I can't believe it, but I'm not so foolish as to doubt His Majesty Rimuru. I see, so then Damrata-sama. Yeah. I think he might have noticed that something was wrong with His Majesty the Emperor. Though not enough to interrupt what I was saying, there was a commotion from the Imperial side. This was an act that should not have been done, but it was too late to care about it now, so I would just ignore it and continue. As for Michael's purpose, this is also known. It is to resurrect his true master and creator, Veldanava. Nonsense. The shouts overlapped, and it was difficult to tell who was speaking. No, actually I knew, but it wouldn't have helped to point it out. Knowing that it was all due to Michael's domination, I do not intend to hold the Imperial side responsible for the war. If they wish to continue to wage war against us in the future. I broke off at this point and glanced at Masayuki and the others. Masayuki remained completely unfazed. He was completely oblivious to the situation, to the point of being admirable. Kalgurio and Minutes were smiling bitterly. There was no way they could win, and there was also no reason to fight anymore. They understood that, which was why they were reacting this way. Looks like things seemed okay. It does not seem to me that you have any such intention. I have also made peace with Velgrin-san, so now it is necessary to establish a new leader now that Michael, who was playing as Rudra, has gone into hiding. That's what the meeting for today was about, so can you shed some light on that? I asked, dropping the topic to Masayuki and the others. In order to have a common understanding of the current situation, we needed to know what the future of the Empire would be. That was what Gazel and the others were most concerned about, so I thought we should discuss it here, without hiding anything. However, this was also a gamble. Normally, when you hold a meeting like this, you are supposed to confirm not only your own ideas, but also the opinions of the other side beforehand. Since we did not do so, we could not predict what kind of conclusion we would reach. I was told that this was normally not allowed to be done in discussions between countries. Tensura, however, did not stop me. She laughed and said that it would not be a problem, so I stopped caring and went ahead with my honest talk. The result was. Minutes. Yes. Minutes, would humbly like to take this opportunity to explain. The current state of the Empire is that we have lost over 2/3 of our forces, and further war is impossible. We are willing to accept full and unconditional surrender, but there is one problem, and that is the absence of a supreme commander. As His Majesty Rimuru has just pointed out, the most important thing is to find a new leader. So today is the perfect opportunity to ask for the approval of our new emperor. Minute said this without hesitation, bowed, and then looked at me and Gazel in turn. So that's how it was. Rimuru, I take it that my arrival today was exactly as you planned. Huh. Of course not. You got me. This isn't about the Empire and Tempest joining forces, it's about Tempest backing the new emperor and building a solid foundation for the Empire. In that case, of course. Well, needless to say, Dworgen will be joining, so I guess I can expect something in return, can't I? Whoa. How did we go from talking about acknowledging the new emperor to talking about building a foundation or some nonsense? King Gazel's words are very encouraging. Naturally, in return, we would like to live up to your expectations as much as possible within the limits of what is acceptable to both countries, so please rest assured. Minutes, no, let's call him Minutes-san. Unlike when he's fighting, he has the mannerisms of an effective politician. He's just as graceful, but he seems to be able to do everything with ease. I, on the other hand, am struggling to comprehend the situation. Nobody could see it because I wasn't sweating, but inwardly I was in a panic. Well, now that Gazel seems to have agreed, I was next. Benimaru and Rigard glanced at me, so I nodded back and opened my mouth. I also agree. And I promised to do my best to provide full support depending on the situation. I would just go with the flow. I was finally catching up to the situation. I had intended to help Masayuki from the beginning, but if I thought about it carefully, that would mean supporting him as a nation. If we could build a better relationship in the future by selling favors here, we would never have to go to war with them again. Well, even if things didn't go that well, we should be okay for the time being. All the rest can just be left to future generations, so the most important thing was the now. Thank you very much. I'm sure that His Majesty the Emperor will be pleased to hear that. Minutes-san bowed once again. You don't have to be so formal. Just get on with it. So, the new emperor is Masayuki-kun, right? Ah, then is it bad to call you that? Oh, it's no problem at all. In fact, can I still call you Rimuru-san? Ah, Masayuki, a friend of my heart. Of course, Masayuki-kun. It's so hard to understand what kinds of words to use in these situations, isn't it? Rimuru-san. I haven't been able to relax until just now. Rimuru-san has never been as reliable as he is now. These past few days, I've been feeling so suffocated. Yes, I understand. You've been struggling all alone without help, haven't you? Velgrin doesn't give a damn about the feelings of her subordinates. She probably wouldn't understand why you were so worried about such trivial things. The Empire's leaders must have been occupied with their own affairs. They must have been so busy with their own problems that they had no time to think about Masayuki's situation. That's probably why he wanted to talk to me, but it was a mistake to let Xian send the message. In fact, I really would have preferred to have had a private meeting with him to figure out what to do. I felt that way, and I'm sure Masayuki felt the same way too. But now that this all happened, it couldn't be helped anymore. I don't know anything about etiquette, so I'm just going to continue with what I want. May I have all your attention, please? Before anyone else could say anything, it was Tensura who spoke up. Our king, Rimuru-sama, would prefer the meeting to be more relaxed and casual. We may all have our own positions, but I'm sure we can understand each other's perspectives, so can we please agree continue the meeting more informally? Tensura looked at everyone present with a smile as she said so. Nothing could be more reliable than that. Masayuki looked happy too. Gazelle chuckled and did not argue. Now that the kings had given their approval, there would be no objections from the subordinates. That was the end of the formal discussion, and now the real talks began. That's all for today, hope you guys enjoy it. Please check my other videos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the notification icon. And don't miss any updates. Thank you for watching.